Hello, welcome to the second economics blog with CIPS and Dr. Glen from the Cranfield School of Management. John, what are the key trends affecting global economic performance at the moment?
Well, what we've seen is the global economy continuing to grow and continue to recover from the financial crisis of 2008. In the United Kingdom, we've seen exceptionally strong growth. Our economy will grow at over 3% this calendar year. And if anything, we're slightly worried about overheating and making sure that we don't get inflationary tendencies. We're starting to see recovery be established in the European Union. And a key issue there is that the level of bankruptcies has gone down, which is great news for procurement professionals. As we go wider afield, there's obviously a lot of noise around Africa, and Africa being seen as the new emerging economy. In Latin America, we have good growth, and we also have an amount of work being done in terms of how heavily those economies have regulated, with a reduction in the degree of regulation in economies like Peru and Mexico.
Now, you mentioned procurement and supply managers. What specifically is going to affect them in the coming months?
Well, in the coming months, obviously, there's going to be a lot of noise around the Ebola crisis in West Africa and the implication that that has for travel into and out of Africa, and potentially whether or not that crisis could spread globally. We also have political crisis. There's problems in Vietnam with the relationship with China. There are issues that are emerging as we speak in Libya. There are obviously the problems in the Ukraine. Now, all of these create challenges for supply chain managers who've got exposure to those parts of the world. But also on a longer term basis, what they tend to do is cause capital flight from those economies, and that impacts both the ability of governments and of businesses in those economies to invest in ensuring that supply chains are as effective and as efficient as they can be.
The PMI has come out fairly recently and they're showing very strong UK economic growth. Is that the same throughout Europe?
Yes, it is. The great thing about PMIs is they provide a fantastic short-term barometer of what the expectations of procurement professionals are. So purchasing managers, are they going out there and purchasing more goods and services on the basis that they expect the economy to expand in the next 3 to 6 months, or they expect it to contract? So the PMI indices as a whole are great indicators of businesses' expectations for the short and medium term.
The Q2 CIPS risk index is out now. What do you think are the key issues that have come out of the report?
Well, what the report is showing is that the global level of risk is reducing, if only slightly. We have to remember that from a historical perspective, the amount of risk that exists in supply chains is relatively high. So what we now need to see is recovering global economic factors, which we've already spoken about, and the suggestion is that the global economy is going in the right direction. But it's the level of political risk and the level of regulatory risk that we also need to see improving. And whilst we have political disputes around the globe, this is obviously a challenge that procurement professionals have to be aware of. They have to have a nuanced analysis to understand where that risk exists, how they can mitigate it, and to engage proactively with the risks that exist in the global economy, rather than reactively in responding as and when those risks actually materialise.
Do you think that's developed? Do you think supply chain managers are becoming more savvy towards sort of understanding risk and mitigating against it?
I think they are, and I think it's almost needs must. They've, as I've said, they've lived in the last 6 to 7 years in a global economy where inherently the absolute level of risk has been much higher, and that has necessitated them developing capabilities, competencies and policies to deal with those risks and make sure that they mitigate the risks, and as I said before, engage proactively with them rather than reactively.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.